Hello, everybody. It has been way too long. I think it's been almost 3 months since I posted a video. I am here today because yesterday was a hard day in my life, and I received a message that I read this morning that really touched me to share a story again that I shared last year. Some of you guys are already going to know what I'm talking about, but I'm hopeful that this video may reach somebody that didn't see that story last year and it was not shared on this channel in this format. But before I share that, I do want to give you guys an update because it's been a while since I've seen you. Of course, I talked to you guys about my mommy makeover. I shared a little bit of my Hawaii vacation, and then I ghosted you all. I am so sorry about that. That was not the plan. Life got really busy, and the reason why life got really busy is I did start a part-time job as a bartender. I think I talked about that just a little bit in one of the last vlogs. And my part-time bartending job has not really been part-time. It's been full-time. But I can tell you guys this, it has been the best thing for my mental health. And that's what we're here to talk about today is mental health. And let's see, what else have I done? I went to Kentucky to see my friend Carol. I went with my sister-in-law and I visited with Carol, and that was amazing for my mental health as well. And then I have been working. I have been doing a little bit of gardening, but not much. So my flower bed is a hot mess, but that's okay. It's still beautiful. There's still flowers in there amongst the weeds, right? And today I actually went out into my garden and clipped some daisies for my friend, as well as some mint because it is bloomed in a beautiful purple, and a purple coneflower that was beautiful. And I went up to visit his gravesite today. So I was a day late with his flowers this year, but I know that he'll understand. And I didn't make it up yesterday because I worked a double at the bar. That was the best thing for my mental health. So let me share with you guys the comment that I received on the video that I had posted a year ago on my budgeting channel. And so here is the comment, and this is from my friend's brother. And of course, we lost my friend 2 years ago to suicide. And of course, I'm talking about Jesse. You may have heard about him if you're not new to my channel. And this comment right here made me want to share this story on this page in this format. So this is a story that has been shared already, but it is still the truth. It is still his story. And another reason why I share this story is we just had our primary election for sheriff here in my county, and I was super excited to hear that Sheriff Casey Lear was not running again because, of course, Casey Lear was part of Jesse's story, and he was not running again. I had high hopes that somebody new would be coming into the sheriff's office. I voted for another person that was running. He is a retired Wyoming Highway Patrolman. And I am hopeful that there will be enough people in our county that will do a write-in for him on November that he may still be sheriff. Now, I reached out to this individual that is running. His name is Cleef. I reached out to him to see if he was going to do a write-in campaign, and he is not going to do an official write-in campaign. But I can tell you guys that if you are a local Sublette County person watching this, the current sheriff-elect, or not even the elect, but the current person that won the Republican Party, did not get a majority of the votes in the county. Of course, he did get the most votes in the county. So I am not saying anything about all the people that support him or anything, but just know that there are more people that voted for somebody besides the person that won. And so it can easily be somebody new, because I really believe our sheriff's office needs change. While the sheriff may be going out, it was not just the sheriff that was a problem in the sheriff's office. And so new blood would be good blood in the sheriff's office. So I am still hopeful for somebody new to come into the sheriff's office to help get rid of the environment that has happened in the sheriff's office, because this environment did not get created by Sheriff Lear. However, it didn't get stopped by him either. It also didn't get stopped by the people that saw things happening that worked at the sheriff's office. So enough about politics, right? Enough about politics. So I do want to let you guys know that, of course, I am still obviously sporting Jesse's tattoo. It didn't go anywhere, but I have a story to tell you guys really quick about this tattoo and about bartending. So part of the reason why I'm loving my bartending job is, of course, not only having coworkers that help my mental health by having fun and being silly and laughing and joking, but also the customers. My customers bring me joy as well. I love meeting tourists as well as meeting new locals that I don't know. And I recently had an interaction with a couple who sat at my bar when I wasn't busy, and they just kind of weren't themselves. They seemed to be struggling and everything. So I just chit-chatted with them, talked about life, talked about different things. And the husband apologized if they seemed kind of off because their son had just passed away. So I told them how sorry I was, and we talked about a few different things. And I can't remember which one of them. One of them asked about my tattoos. And so I told them about my tattoos on my arm, and I shared Jesse's tattoo. And I shared about what I experienced with losing him the way that we lost him to suicide. I didn't know, but they had just lost their son to suicide. And I'm getting a little emotional because it was very emotional for me. And so they opened up and they shared their story. And they both thanked me for sharing my story. And they thanked me for the little bit that I've done for suicide prevention. Not enough, certainly. I plan on walking with my cousins next year for a suicide walk in Utah. They did it this year. They did it the year before. And I want to get more involved in that. But just my interaction with this couple touched me so deeply. And of course, if I didn't have this tattoo that I see every single day, I may not have been able to touch those people in the way that I was able to. And this tattoo is on my right hand or on my right arm in the same position Jesse's was. And I love where it is because I see it every day. I am right-handed, and it helps keep me grounded. And of course, it also gives me the courage to ask for help when I need it. And of course, that is the point of this video, is that I hope that it gives somebody the courage to ask for help if they need it. And for me, going out and getting another job was very hard. I don't know why it was so hard. I think it was hard because I left the sheriff's office for my mental health, right? To get away from that toxic environment, only to find myself still struggling with my mental health, but in a different way because I found that I was lonely and that I was getting depressed, and it just wasn't good for me. And so I'm glad that I had the courage to reach out to my friend Jeffrey to ask about getting a part-time job that is not part-time, that I've been working way more hours on than part-time, because it has been amazing for my mental health. So I am going to go ahead and share the same story that I shared last year. It is a story that's near and dear to my heart. It is a story that was very hard to tell, not only because of the subject matter, but also because of the fear that I experienced with sharing the story. Now, some of the fear has come true, where people that I thought were my friends are not really my friends, and that's okay. I mean, it is what it is, right? I know I used to hate it when people would say, it is what it is, but it's true. You can't control the things that are out of your control. And how other people feel about me, I can't control it, so it's none of my business. It doesn't matter how other people feel about me. It matters how I feel about myself. And I am so proud of the person that's sitting here today compared to the person that I was a couple years ago. So I hope that this video inspires somebody to reach out to somebody in their life that maybe is struggling, or it inspires somebody that's struggling themselves to hold out their hand and ask for help. Or maybe it will inspire you to go learn more about suicide prevention in your community, because it touches so many people in the world. And Wyoming has is the highest suicide rate in the United States. And of course, that's because our population is so low, but it also is because per capita, we lose more people to suicide than any other state. And of course, I've lost many people in my life. And of course, also, I want to do a remembrance really quick for my niece, Nikki, that we lost to suicide. In January, it will be 2 years ago. So it happens, you guys, and it happens to a lot of people that you would never expect. So just take the time, hold out your hand to somebody that may need it, go find some way to make a difference in this world, even if it's not something huge. It doesn't have to be something huge. You can be the difference in somebody's life and not even know it. All right. Let me get off my soapbox and let me go ahead and share Jesse's story again. Thanks for tuning in today, you guys, and I appreciate you all. And of course, it wouldn't be a Marlene video without saying, remember to keep on smiling, everybody. Bye.
2353 Pinedale. 2353 Pinedale. This is the last call for 2353, Deputy Jesse Adams. Deputy Adams served for the Sublette County Sheriff's Office for the last 16 years. He may be gone, but not forgotten. End of watch for Deputy Jesse Adams. Monday, August 19th, 2024. May you rest in peace.
1 year ago today, an amazing father, son, brother, and friend was lost to suicide. On August 19th, Jesse Adams went for a hike in the mountains and never returned home. This is Jesse's story as I see it. My name is Marlene Johnston. This is not my story. However, Jesse is not here to tell his story. While I cannot speak for Jesse, I can share his story as I see it through conversations, texts, and sheriff's office documents. I have Jesse's family's permission to share this story and photos. I worked with Jesse at the Sublette County Sheriff's Office from January 2012 until his death in August 2024. I worked side by side with him when we were both deputies and under his leadership while he was a sergeant. Jesse's story has more than I am sharing today. However, I believe the parts of the story shared will paint enough of the picture to get the point across. You may ask, why have I not spoken of Jesse's story before today? The answer is simple: fear of legal action and retaliation. My legal counsel advised me not to speak out about what I am going to share today while I was still employed by the Sublette County Sheriff's Office. I was also advised not to release the documents I reference. I retired early after 13 years of employment as a deputy in good standing in April 2025. Thus, I am no longer employed by the Sublette County Sheriff's Office. We are not going to start at the beginning of Jesse's story today. Instead, we are going to start on the day Jesse's story took a turn for the worse. On August 11th, 2021, Sergeant Jesse Adams was given notice by Sheriff Casey Lear that he was being demoted from sergeant to deputy. Jesse was my sergeant at this time, and he appealed the demotion. During this appeal process, Jesse maintained his position and work continued on our shift. At that time, Jesse hired an attorney to help him with his appeal process. On December 2nd, 2021, Jesse received a notice of termination letter from Sheriff Casey Lear. Jesse appealed this termination. He was placed on administrative leave and ultimately transferred to another shift until a decision was received for his in-house hearing that was held on March 2nd and 3rd in the year 2022. Stay tuned for part 2. Due to the circumstances, Jesse began his search for a career somewhere else. Jesse did not want to work at the Sublette County Sheriff's Office anymore. However, he still had bills to pay, he had children to take care of, and he needed to put food on the table. He was unable to obtain employment at other law enforcement agencies, even though he searched until he died. We still don't know the true story of why he couldn't find employment, even with letters of recommendation and open positions in multiple law enforcement agencies. At the in-house hearing, an independent hearing officer was appointed. This hearing works similar to a court hearing. Testimonies were given by 11 people, including myself. I testified on Jesse's behalf regarding the toxic work environment Lieutenant Stephen Dunning created. I testified regarding my own grievances relating to a toxic work environment. I told the hearing officer that Lieutenant Dunning was unprofessional to the highest degree. I testified regarding statements Lieutenant Dunning made about Sergeant Adams to me, a deputy. This broke policy. I spoke about Sergeant Adams being held to a higher standard than other sergeants. I spoke about Lieutenant Dunning telling people he didn't like Sergeant Adams and that he wanted to get him fired. In this hearing, Lieutenant Dunning admitted he voiced very negative, very inappropriate comments about Sergeant Adams. Lieutenant Dunning also admitted he called Sergeant Adams lazy and said he shouldn't be a sergeant to other deputies. The hearing officer determined Lieutenant Dunning had no doubt created a toxic, hostile work environment. She also determined the sheriff's office did not have good cause to terminate Jesse Adams. You may think this is good news. On one hand, it is good. On the other hand, it is devastating. Why, you ask? Stay tuned for part 3. Jesse Adams, while still employed, had been demoted to a deputy. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is that Jesse was put back in the chain of command under the same lieutenant. That's right. Sheriff Lear did not demote or remove Lieutenant Dunning from his position for his conduct unbecoming and creating a toxic, hostile work environment. The determination of the hearing officer did not compel Sheriff Lear to remove Lieutenant Dunning despite multiple grievances filed by multiple deputies and sergeants. Dear Sheriff, no one was more surprised than I when you left Jesse in the chain of command under Lieutenant Dunning. Jesse's fight was not over at this point. Jesse had spent tens of thousands of dollars defending himself, and he wanted to be repaid for Sheriff Lear and Lieutenant Dunning trying to fire him without good cause. The sheriff and ultimately Sublette County refused to pay, and Jesse's fight continued. Jesse continued to fight the sheriff's office and continued to rack up attorney bills. This fight was still ongoing when Jesse lost his life. A lawsuit was being prepared by Jesse and his attorney. The stress and anxiety this situation caused Jesse was astronomical. His finances were out of control. His life was spiraling. He was distraught and depressed. Jesse, who had not drank alcohol previously due to his religious beliefs, quickly turned into an alcoholic. He went to rehab and struggled with this new addiction. His relationship with his wife became strained, and they ultimately separated. He continued secretly drinking and showed up to work intoxicated one night in April 2024. Stay tuned for the next part. The night Jesse showed up to work intoxicated, I was on shift. I smelled alcohol, and I knew what I had to do. I told the shift sergeant that Jesse smelled of alcohol. It broke my heart to turn my friend in. However, I knew I had to do the right thing regardless of the consequences to Jesse. Later that evening, Jesse actually thanked me for turning him in. Unfortunately, Sheriff Lear failed Jesse again. Jesse was given days off, no pay, but was not required to go to counseling or rehab. This was a call for help, and nothing was done. Jesse returned to work like normal. I was angry at Jesse for putting me in that position that night. I am ashamed to say that I pulled farther away from Jesse because of this. We still spoke occasionally, and I would send him a text here and there asking how he was. I texted him, quote, "If you need anything, please let me know. If you need to talk, text, scream, or cry, I am here. You are not alone, Jesse." I also texted him, quote, "I hope if you need help, you will ask." Jesse's response was, quote, "I need to be better at that. I will try to reach out next time." You know, Jesse's story ends because he didn't reach out for help from anyone. Jesse fought for what he believed was right for 3 years, and he ultimately died without receiving the justice he deserved. At the time of Jesse's death, Lieutenant Dunning was still in command. On August 20th, 2024, the sheriff's office posted a post regarding Jesse Adams' suicide. Imagine the family's shock to see his face plastered online with his cause of death listed in less than 24 hours after his death. His wife was told when she wanted Jesse's property back that she couldn't have it because it was still an active investigation. Yet the Sublette County Sheriff's Office had published about Jesse's death and cause of death. Stay tuned for the next part. Jesse's death had been plastered all over social media without even speaking to the family before this was done. His family requested for the post to be taken down. This request was ignored. His wife finally threatened to speak to every other sheriff's office in the state of Wyoming if this was not taken down. This got the sheriff's attention, and the post was removed. After Jesse's death, the sheriff's office continued to fail in so many ways. The sheriff's office failed Jesse's family as well as his co-workers. No support or counseling was available the night that Jesse died. It wasn't offered until days later. The family was not given a liaison to help them with this huge loss, and ultimately, I believe they all deserve an apology for the lack of professionalism displayed by the Sublette County Sheriff's Office throughout their devastating loss. As I sit here, writing at 3 a.m. this morning, I am still afraid, but I am determined. I am afraid because I live in a small town, and I have friends that work for the sheriff's office still. There are good people that work for the Sublette County Sheriff's Office. However, this isn't about me. It's about Jesse. I am determined to share Jesse's story because I owe Jesse. My heart aches for not only my loss of an amazing friend, leader, and coworker, but for all of those who lost him. My heart is full of happiness for the times I called Jesse Sergeant Adams. I smile and I even laugh when I remember the good times we had. I reflect on the times when I was angry at Jesse, and in the early years, they were plentiful, and I shake my head. You see, Jesse was not an easy man to like sometimes. He tended to rub people the wrong way, and his political views differed from a lot of his coworkers. However, Jesse was an amazing sergeant for me. He didn't treat me as an inferior because I was a woman. He saw my strengths and weaknesses and helped me with both. Jesse didn't deserve the treatment he received. Stay tuned for the next part. My heart is full of anger and shame for losing Jesse to suicide. My heart is full of anger for those who failed Jesse. The shame is mine alone for not standing up with him in his fight. You see, Jesse held out his hand to me and asked me to fight with him in court. If you haven't figured this out yet, I have my own stories of a hostile, toxic work environment. I believe this is what brought Jesse and I together as friends. Along with a few other coworkers, we were all trauma bonded together. We banded together and we were stronger because of it. Yet, I didn't join his fight. I regret this more than anything. I'm sorry, Jesse. I am here 1 year too late to fight for Jesse's story to be heard. As I stare at the photo in front of me, presenting the flag to Jesse's 3 sons, my stomach hurts. The pain in this photo is so deep. It is a day that I will never forget. The look on those 3 boys' faces will forever be seared into my memory. I was embarrassed and ashamed to wear my uniform that day. You see, I believe law enforcement should be held to a higher standard. Unfortunately, in my opinion, Sheriff Lear does not believe the same things I do. I do not believe toxic bullying from administration should be tolerated, yet it has been for years. I do not believe spreading lies and hate about someone should be allowed, yet it has for years. I do not believe in singling someone out and trying to get them fired, yet it has been allowed for years. Jesse wasn't the first one or the only one to be treated this way. However, losing him has given me the courage to stand up. I am too late to save Jesse. But maybe, just maybe, one person can be saved because of me sharing my truth and Jesse's story as I know it. Stay tuned for the next part. While trying to find the words to express what the toxic work environment did to Jesse, I stumbled upon this quote by Philip Holmes. Quote, "The hardest thing about toxic workplaces is they make you question yourself. At first, you tried to do the right thing. You spoke up, but you were labeled difficult. You set a boundary, but they accused you of not being a team player. You tried to make things better, but learned that silence is what gets rewarded. So you adapted and shrunk yourself to fit in. You didn't share your opinions to avoid conflict. You chose self-preservation over self-expression, not because you wanted to, but because the environment trained you to. If a workplace forces you to choose between honesty and survival, the problem isn't you, it's the system. And the longer you stay silent, the harder it gets to remember what you sound like. Jesse lost his voice 1 year ago. However, losing Jesse helped me find my voice to tell his story and a little bit of mine today. Losing Jesse to suicide made me realize I needed to get out of the toxic work environment I found myself in, no matter what. Losing Jesse made me wake up. He helped me find myself again. He gave me the courage to say, no, this isn't okay. He gave me a huge push to take a leap of faith. I wanted to scream from the mountaintops what happened to Jesse, but I was afraid. I was silenced by the fear of prosecution and retaliation. I was silenced by the fear of losing my job and my retirement. I was silenced because I wasn't strong enough to stand up and say no more. Today, I am strong enough. Suicide is not something that should be hushed or hidden away. We shouldn't be ashamed to reach out for help or talk to others we see who are hurting. We need to do better. We need to hold our hand out to those who need us more than we know. If you are struggling, please reach out. Thank you for listening to Jesse's story as I see it.
I should move, cause New York is getting muddy out. There's LA, but it's always kinda sunny out. And I don't wanna hurt no more, so I set my bar real low. I'm A-okay. You say it, but you just don't mean it. You're so insane. Shut up and just enjoy this feeling. Don't you love it? No, I ain't happy yet, but I'm way less sad. Don't you love it? No, I ain't happy yet, but I'm way less sad.